Hi everyone, hope you all are doing great. I am Preeti, your host for today's session on REST API with Node.js or Flask. I am excited to introduce our speaker, Mr. Anudeep. Anudeep is a full stack and data science trainer with expertise in one stack and data science. He is passionate about delivering practical, hands-on learning experience, empowering learner to build robust web application and gain deep insight through data-driven approaches. With his expertise across both web development and data science, Anudeep focused on bridging a gap between coding and real world application. He emphasized building from scratch, simplifying complex concepts, and showcasing best practices so that learners walk away with not just knowledge but the ability to create and deploy solutions independently. His approach made complex topics like API design, integration, and data handling much easier to grasp, giving participants the confidence to apply these skills directly to real world projects. We are truly thrilled to have him here with us today to lead this insightful session. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Anudeep. Over to you, Anudeep.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you all doing? Just give me a quick thumbs up if you guys are able to hear me. Fine, sir. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, great. So, guys, I want to know a little bit about you guys. Okay, before I get started, before I talk about myself, I want to know about you guys first. Just put in the chat where you guys are joining from which city you guys are joining, and then what have you done? What was your education background? For example, if you're joining from Hyderabad, put Hyderabad, comma. If you're doing BTech, put BTech like this. Bhopal, MP. Okay. What about others? Where are you guys joining from? Mysore, BTech. Okay. Also put from if you're doing BTech, put fourth year, third year like that. Okay, I can see participant joining from Auckland as well. Great. Can see participant joining from all over all over India. Okay, great. So guys, I have few more questions for you. I'll be sharing my screen. I want you guys are very interactive. I want this workshop to be like this only. I want everyone to respond whatever questions you have. Just put your questions in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know if you are able to see my screen. Just give me a minute. Yeah, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So I want everyone to answer this. So before we talk about Node.js, I want you guys to answer these 5 simple questions. Okay. It will just take 2 minutes, and then we'll get started with Node.js. So guys, how familiar are you with coding in general? If you're completely new, put A in the chat. If you're beginner, put B. Intermediate, C, or advanced, put D. This will help beginner. Okay. Advanced, D, advanced. Okay. I can see a mixed crowd here. A lot of you guys are beginners, intermediate, and advanced level. Okay, great. I can see Sujal is completely new, right? Fine choice. If you are completely new, okay, or if you're just a beginner, if you just have basic knowledge on JavaScript, you're going to understand today's workshop. Okay, so in this workshop, we'll learn how to build REST APIs with Node.js. Second question, have you ever worked with Node.js before? I want to know this. A, never touched it. Okay. Okay, never touched it. No problem. Even if you guys have never worked with Node.js, it's completely fine. Okay. You're going to understand today's workshop, even if you have never, you know, worked on Node.js before. We'll be starting from absolute scratch. Used it for small projects. Okay, great. So now what best describes you? Are you a student, working professional, freelancer, or curious learner? Working professionals are there. Okay, I can see a lot of working professionals, students. So I can say this is a complete mixed crowd where participants are coming from different cities, different fields, students, working professionals. Great. So guys, whatever you are, you'll learn a lot about Node.js, what exactly is REST API, how to build APIs, and how to make API calls. You're going to understand that in today's workshop. At the end of this workshop, you'll be walking out knowing about what is REST API and Node.js. Okay, last 2 3 questions. What's your coding personality? Are you a debug detective, copy paste ninja, stack overflow explorer, or are you a meme engineer? What are you? A and B. Okay. Stack overflow explorer. Okay. Now I can still see some participants are using stack overflow. Great. Debug detective A and C. Okay. Fine. Meme engineers. Meme engineers are also there. Great. Last 2 questions are there. Your biggest coding struggle is, so guys, when you're coding, right, where do you get stuck? You feel like there are bugs everywhere, or are you not able to remember syntax, time management, or you feel that finding motivation is the problem? Remembering syntax. Okay. So guys, the answer is, if you are struggling in remembering syntax, right, you need to keep practicing. Even if you just understand what is happening, you don't need to remember the syntax. Even if you just know some part, you can Google it and get it. Okay. But you understanding the concept is the main thing. Once you understand the concept, you can get the syntax and put it at the right place and make necessary changes. So main thing here is, if you're struggling with remembering syntax, you just need to understand the concept and then you can get things done. Where to use loops? Yes. If you understand the concept, then you're going to very easily, you know, get the syntax and put it at the right place or make necessary changes. So as last question, so people who are already coding for some time, what do you think the sound will be if errors had a sound? If they would, if they were to put a sound for an error, what will it be? He will laugh. Okay. A boom. Sad. Sad. Okay. Great. Personally, I like this answer. C1. Evil laugh is good, right? That actually, makes sense. Okay, great. So guys, thanks for answering. I got to know a lot about you guys. Okay, before we get started, this actually gave me a lot of knowledge about what kind of participants are joining in today's workshop. Great. So guys, in today's workshop, we are going to learn what exactly is Node.js, why do we need Node.js, and I'm actually going to write code and show you how to build REST APIs. Okay. So now let's see what is Node.js. Node.js is nothing but, we all know that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, these three are core web development technologies, right? So earlier, what used to happen, JavaScript was only getting executed on the browser. Okay. So then there is this person, Ryan Dahal, he is a Google engineer. He thought, why not use Node.js outside the browser also, right? And then he started Node.js. Node.js is a powerful open source, means it is free. Server time runtime environment. Server side runtime environment is nothing but, so now you don't just run JavaScript code on the browsers. You can run JavaScript code on servers on your local machines. Okay. So now Node.js is server side runtime environment. This actually provides an environment for JavaScript code to be executed. Okay, you can actually run JavaScript on servers. And what is the benefit of this? What is, the benefit of running your JavaScript code outside the browser on your local machine? Look at this. When you run JavaScript on your computer, on your local machine, instead of browser, you can actually access files and systems. Okay, whatever files are there in your laptop, you will be able to access them. You can't open or save your files on PC for safety reasons, but if your JavaScript code is getting executed in the browser, you can read those files, edit them very easily, and then you can also talk to database. This is the one additional benefit. So, and also you will be able to create servers, and Node.js actually lets you become a server. So now, if JavaScript code was getting executed in the browser, and if you had to make API calls, that used to hit to the server, and then server had to talk to database, get the data and send it back, right? But with the help of Node.js, you can actually run your own server. Okay, you can actually handle the request coming to the backend. Let me show you. Let me show you guys three-tier architecture. So if you are coming from computer science background, many of you would have already seen this image. But if you are learning full stack development, this image is must to see. Guys, look at this image. What is happening? So now whatever application you use, whether it is start Amazon or whatever application you're using, so now all the products data will actually be stored on the backend on the database, right? But that data should be shown on the front end. This client is the front end, okay, where we can see our application. Our application will be shown to us on laptop's mobile screen, okay? But the data is actually stored on the database. Now, what happens here is this client is the front end side of the application, and server and database is the backend side of the application, okay? Now, if you want to show the data on the client side, you will make a request to the server. Okay, so in today's workshop, there are different types of requests, right? There is a get request, there is a post request, and then there is a put request, and then there is delete request, and many more. So in today's workshop, what we are going to do, so whenever there is a request coming from client to the server, we are going to learn how to handle that request. Okay, once you get that request, for example, let's say there is a get request, you'll learn how to get the data from database and then fetch that data and send that data back to the client. Okay, this is what we'll be learning in today's workshop. I'm going to show you how to build REST APIs. Okay, that is what we are going to see. So we are going to learn how to set up the server. If any request is coming from front end, how do we handle that? How to talk to database? Okay, how will server talk to database whenever it is getting a request? For example, client is making a request, I want to see all the users data. Now server, on the server, we need to handle that request, talk to database, get the users data, and send that users data back to client. Okay, so in today's workshop, we are going to learn how to handle request, how do we actually build REST APIs. Okay, that is what we are going to do in today's workshop. Okay, and now in today's workshop, we are going to use Node.js to build APIs, where we are going to learn how to run JavaScript code on our local machine, okay, and how to build APIs from scratch. So Node.js is built on V8 JavaScript runtime engine. So which is the same engine that powers Google Chrome. In Google Chrome, whatever engine is there, which is going to help us execute JavaScript code, the same engine is there in Node.js as well. Okay. Node.js enables developers to write server-side applications using JavaScript. Okay, so runtime engine is nothing but it provides necessary environment for the code to run. It will help us to handle complicated tasks such as memory management, code interpretation, or whatever compilations you want to do. Okay, so this is what is Node.js. It is a server-side runtime environment, which is going to help us execute JavaScript code on the server side. So using Node.js, we are going to learn how to build APIs, how to handle requests coming from the front end. All that we can do with the help of Node.js. Okay. So guys, are you excited for today's workshop? Are you guys excited to see how to build APIs using Node.js. Yes? Okay, great. Shall we get started? Great. Okay. So guys, let's get started. Now let me show you a simple API. Okay. Let me show you guys a simple API. API is nothing but you're looking at this, right? First, if any of you don't know what is an API, API is nothing but see. So now here, if client wants to communicate to the server, how is the client going to communicate with the server? There is something called as API. Okay, application programming interface. Using this API only, client will be able to communicate with the server. Okay, any idea which developers build this API? Front end developer. Which developer builds APIs? Front end developer or back end? What do you think is the answer? Exactly. Backend developer is the one who builds the APIs and gives it to front-end developer. Okay. So now, if you in future, if you want to become a backend developer, this workshop is going to help you a lot. Okay. So let me show one API. Let me show you one API where we will be able to fetch the data here. There is this API. Look at this. As soon as I hit this get request, see what is happening. Here I'm able to get all the users data, right? So now what did I just do here? From the front end, I made this request. Okay. So here I made a request that I want users data. So request went from front end to the server. Okay. So now behind the scenes, server has got this request that I want users data. Now server talk to database, got the data, and server has sent that data back to client. That is how we are able to see all this users data here. Okay. So now you guys must have also heard about Express.js. Any idea what is Express.js? Okay. Express.js is nothing but it is a JavaScript framework which is going to help you to build APIs very easily. Okay. It will provide you a lot of functionalities. Using Express.js, we will be able to build APIs very, very easily. Okay. So now what did I do? Here in today's workshop, we are going to write code. We are going to write code on Visual Studio. Now in this, if you see here, I have loaded an empty folder which is Node.js folder. There is nothing, no files inside this. Okay. Now what you should do, if you want to initialize your backend project, if you want to initialize your uh, if you want to initialize your Node.js project, what you should do, first you should open the terminal. Okay. How will you open the terminal? Control plus tilde. In this, make sure that you're on the right path. I'm currently on my desktop. I need to do CD and then here I need to go to Node.js folder. Okay. Now, once this is done, if you want to initialize your Node.js project, any idea what command I need to put here? What should I type? Here I need to put npm init. Okay, this is going to initialize your project. Okay, it might ask you some questions like what is the project name you want to have. All these questions it might ask you. Once this is done, here we will be able to start building our Node.js project. Okay, so after I have executed this, I'm going to get something like package.json. Okay, I'm going to get a JSON file. So now that JSON file will give us information about the project. Okay. See here it is asking me the package name, Node.js folder. I'll press enter. Version, description. I don't want to have anything. So in Node.js project, usually the entry point is index.js. So we will be creating an index.js file inside this. Okay. I'm just going to press enter because I simply want this package.json. Whenever you are in a backend project, you can simply go to this package.json and then here you will be able to see what all dependencies are there. Okay, how to start the project, all the details about your backend project will be there inside this package.json. Okay, now inside this I'm going to create this entry point index.js. This is where we'll be starting. This is where we are going to write code. Here inside this I'll just put console.log welcome to node.js. Now if you want this code to be executed, you need to open the terminal. You'll simply open the terminal, and in this you just need to write this code node space index.js. Now if I press enter, here you'll notice that my JavaScript code is getting executed. Okay, done. Now, what did I say? We are going to use Express.js. Okay, because Express.js is something which will help us to create APIs very easily. Now, Express.js is a JavaScript framework, which means that already a lot of code is written in Express.js. We are just going to use that code to build APIs very, very easily. Okay. I'm going to show you how to start a server from absolute scratch. We are going to, for the next 1.5 hours, we are going to learn how to build APIs. Okay. Now, Express.js is something which is not inbuilt. Node.js does not give us this Express.js. So that is the reason why what we should do, we should install Express.js. Right now, if you look at the dependencies, we do not have any dependencies here. We do not have any third-party packages, right? So now what we are going to do, as I told, Express.js is something which is not inbuilt. We need to install this. Here, I'm going to do npm install express. Okay. As soon as I've installed this, you'll notice that it will be listed down in my dependencies. Okay. Right now it is getting installed. I thought I'll already install it beforehand, but many of you guys are beginners. Maybe you don't know how to install it. So I thought let's actually do this from scratch. Okay. So it is going to take some time. Usually it should get done within 10 seconds, depending upon your internet speed and laptop speed. Once this is done, express this, you'll notice that it is going to be listed down in my dependencies. So your node modules folder is also created. So now whatever dependency you're installing, right? So all the code related to that package, okay, will be there inside this node module, and whatever package you're installing, that is going to be displayed here. Let me run this again. So here I'm getting let me install some other package and see. Yeah. So if you guys observe, I just installed a dependency. Here you'll notice that, here you notice what happened. Here, see, in the dependency, I have installed a dependency, right? So let's also install this dependency, npm I express. So once you have installed the dependency, we will be able to start using it. Let me actually first show you how to create a server. Let's create a server. To create a server, what you should do, here you should just go to this, let express here. I'm going to get express require. Okay, now I'm going to run this console.log. I'll just put code here. Now look at this here. Here we are getting some. Let's see. Okay, what we'll do here inside this, we'll switch to this Git folder. Okay, in this, I've already installed the dependencies. So let's switch to this Git folder and I'll show you how to implement this. I'm going to go back and then I'll go to Git folder. Okay, if you observe, I've already installed this Express dependency in this. Okay, so in this also I'm having index.js. Let me remove everything and then here I'll put welcome to Node.js. Okay, now I'm going to run this. I'll just put code here. Now look at this here. Here we are getting some. Let's see. You should. Okay, what we'll do here. Inside this, we'll switch to this. Welcome to Node.js. So let's run this here. I'll do node index.js. Okay, welcome to Node.js. Fine. So once you've installed this Express.js, what we should do, let's import this. This is a third-party package. Okay. So this is a third-party package. So let's write code to import this. Here I'll do let express is equal to require express. Okay. And then here, how do we start the server? Here, if you call this express, if you call this express, here it is going to give you an object. Okay, as soon as you call this express function, it is going to give you an object app. Using this object, you can make your server run on a particular port. Okay, so here I'm going to give a port. I'll give this port as 8080, and then here I'm going to do app.listen. Now I'm going to make my server listen on a particular port. In this, the first argument I'm going to pass is the port. And then second argument is as soon as my server started running on a port, here this particular function will get called. So here I'm going to put console.log server started running on port. And then here I'm going to put the port number. So here you'll notice no node index.js. As soon as I did this, if my server is successfully running, okay, then here I'm going to get a message, server started running on port. Okay, I've started my server and it is right now running on this port 8080. Now what I'm going to do, let's say that from the front end there is a request coming. Okay, so here let's say that here localhost 8080 slash. So now a front-end developer or someone is making a request on this slash path. Now what we should do here, whenever a request is coming from front end, okay, right now there is a request coming from the front end, a get request is coming. Okay, so here someone has made a get request coming from the front end. Now we need to handle that. There is a get request slash coming. Now we have started the server. Now we should learn. Now we are going to learn how to handle this request. So what we are going to do here, I'm going to write with the help of this app. Here I'm going to write app.get. We are going to handle get request, right? So in the first argument, I'm going to put whenever the path is slash, what do I want? So whenever there is a request coming from front end and the path is slash, we want this particular function to be called. And then here I'm going to simply send a response, res.send hello from express. Okay, hello from express. Whenever the user is requesting for this slash path, what is going to happen? We are going to send this response hello from express. So now let's run this and see. I'm going to press enter. But if you observe, I'm still getting this error. Cannot get this slash path. Okay. Now, why are we getting this error? Because whenever you have written this code, you should always kill your terminal, restart the server. Okay. You should always restart the server. Now, what is the node modules? So basically node modules is nothing but whatever third party packages we are installing, right? Whatever third party packages we are installing, all that code related to that third party module will be there inside node modules. Okay, what is the use of node mon? I'll tell you what is node mon. What is express.js? Express.js is JavaScript framework, okay, where it gives us lot of functionalities. Using that, you can build APIs very easily. Okay, that is what is express.js. It is going to help you build models. Okay, you're using those models, you can decide what type of data should be stored on the backend, all that. Okay, so now after you made some changes, you should always kill the terminal, restart the server. Okay, now that I've restarted, here if I run this, now did you notice whenever a request is coming from backend, here what happened? The user has made a request. Okay, here what happened just now? User has made a request slash path, and from the server, what did we do? We have sent a response hello from express. Okay, here we have sent a response hello from express. That is what we have done. Now let's say this time the user is requesting for slash users. User from the front end, from the client, we are getting this get request slash users. So now what we should do from the server, we should send the user's data back as a response. So now let's see. Now what I'm going to do from the front end, I'm going to make this request, let's say slash users. From the front end, I'm making this request slash users. Now look at this here. I'm getting cannot get slash users, right? I'm getting this cannot get slash users. So what? So guys, I'm going to talk about all those things. What is package.json? Okay, package log.json. We are going to talk about that for now. Let's only focus on the code I'm writing. Okay. At the end, I'm going to explain what is this views folder. For now, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to show you everything. What is so you guys must have heard about MVC, model view controller. I'm going to explain about this also. Okay. For now, this is something which we don't need. I'm going to delete it. Now from the front end, we are getting this request slash users. See, now we are getting an error. Why we are getting an error? From the front end, there is a request slash users, but we did not handle that on the server. Okay. We did not handle that request on the server. That is why we are getting this message cannot get slash users. So now what we should do? We should handle that request also on the server. Here I'm going to write slash users. So which means that whenever there is this request slash users, whenever there is this get request slash users coming from the front end, what should happen? I want this particular function to be called. Okay, here I want this function to be called, and then here I'm going to send the response. Here is users data. Okay, I'm going to send this. Now here I'm going to run this. Now you notice I'm still getting an error. Why am I getting error here? Because whenever I've written some code, I should always kill the terminal. I should always kill the terminal, and then I should restart the terminal. Okay, here I should be restarting the terminal. Here, let me just run this again. Node index.js. Now when I did this, here I'm going to hit this slash users. Now when I did this, see from the backend, we are sending this response. Here is users data. Okay. Now we have to every time kill the terminal and restart this, right? We have to always kill the terminal, restart the terminal. Now this is a big headache. Whenever we make some change, we have to always kill the terminal, restart. This is a big headache, right? So instead, what we can do, instead of this, what we can do, any idea? Instead of this, there is something called as nodemon. Okay, there is something called as nodemon. With the help of nodemon, what is going to happen? You don't have to manually kill the terminal every time and restart. Okay, if you are using nodemon, if you are using nodemon, here you need to do npm install nodemon. Okay, I've already installed this nodemon. So I'm not going to install it again. So all the dependencies, whatever you have installed, right? All the dependencies are listed down here. Okay. So here in this nodemon is there, mongoose is there, mongodb, everything. But you are not going to have this. So here you need to do npm install nodemon. Okay. I'm not going to do it again because I've already done it. Right. So now once you have done, it is listed down in the dependencies. And now here what you should do in the scripts, here you need to add the start script. Okay, in the script you need to add the start script and then here put nodemon index.js. Okay, so now as soon as you type npm start here, what is going to happen? This command will get executed and then nodemon will start running the code from index.js. Here I'm going to write npm start. I'll press enter, and once it is done, what is going to happen? Here you'll notice that nodemon is starting our server. It is executing the code, and here once the server started running on a port, here you are able to see this message. Okay, so now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to handle one more request, uh, app.users, app.get. I'm going to handle a get request. In this I'm going to put slash books. Okay, and then here I'm passing a callback function, request response, and then here I'm going to send a response, return res.send. I'm going to send this response, books. Here is books data. Okay. Now, when I run this, see, did you see this time I just had to save my file. I did not have to restart. So now when I'm accessing slash books like this, now you'll notice that here it is sending me books data. Okay. So now instead of just passing this simple message, what we can do here, I'm going to copy this JSON data and then here I'm going to store it inside a variable. Let's store this like users. I'm going to store this inside a variable and then whenever the user is requesting for users, what we should do. Here, this time I want to send JSON response back, right? So here I need to have res.json. Okay, I'll remove this. I'm going to save this. Now what is going to happen? Now from the front end, when the user is requesting for slash users, if I press enter, now you'll notice that from the backend, we are sending this entire user's JSON data back. Okay. Was this clear to everyone? How do we handle request on the server? Is this much clear? Yes or no? Okay, just put your questions if anything is not clear to you guys. Yes? Okay. Great. Okay. So guys, now what I'm going to do, let's say if the user is requesting something, like let's say slash cars. If the user is requesting slash cars, obviously we did not handle this request on the backend, right? So this slash cars is something which is not handled on the backend. Okay. Now, in this case, what we should do, we should send a response back that this is not handled on the backend, right? This request is not handled on the backend. That is the response we should send. So here for that, what we should do, here I'm going to write app.get. Here inside this, I'm going to, in the first argument, I'm passing a star. In this case, here I'm going to send a response res.json. I'm going to send an error saying this request isn't handled on backend. Okay. Now I'll save this. Now when the user is asking slash cars, what is going to happen? Here, it will be checked that is it matching with this path? No. Is it matching with this path? No. If it is not matching with any of these, then here this particular callback function will be called and then we are sending this message back. This request is not handled on the backend. Okay. Now I've saved this. If I press enter, now here let me think I've killed the terminal. Uh, I'll save this. Is there any error? Let's see. Okay, we are getting one error. Let's see what is that error. So here I'm going to scroll down. App.get. I'll save this. Here, what I'm going to do, I'll put app.use. Hmm, sorry. Here, hmm, app.get. Okay, it is not taking this. Let's see. Okay. Here, now what we are going to do, here we should always return this. You should always return the response, whatever you want to send back. Okay. Now what we have done, here we have handled get request, right? Get request means what? We have seen what exactly is a get request. Get request means here some data is there on the database. Okay. So what we should do, we should get that data. and send that data back to the client. This is what is a get request. Get request means some data is stored on the backend. We need to get that data and send it back to client. This is a get request. Okay. Now, any idea what are the other types of requests? What are the other types of requests we are having? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Sandeep. Post request, right? So we are going to see what is post request. Post request is nothing but from the front end, we are sending some data. Okay. Post request means from the front end, we are sending some data. And now this time we are asking the server to store that data on the database. Okay. That is your post request. Post request means you are sending some data and then you're asking the server to take this and then store it inside the database. Okay. That is what is your post request. Now, if you want to make a post request, what all we are going to need? Okay, we are going to need the help of database because obviously you'll store this data on the database, right? So now here, let's talk about database. Before this, we'll see what exactly is a middleware. Okay, so here middleware is nothing but here I'm going to write down. So is middleware is a very important interview question. Let's see what is a middleware. Here I'm going to write middleware. Middleware is nothing but a function executed between the request and the response. Okay, a middleware is nothing but a function executed between the request and the response. See, now look at this here. This is the particular function which is throwing me a response, right? Now, before this function is executed, I'm going to put a function here. Before this function is executed, what do I want? Here, this function will get executed, and this function is going to have three parameters here: request, response, and next. So here I'll show you console.log. In this, I'll put middleware function is called. Okay. So now I'll save this. Here I'm putting middleware function is called. Now look at this. Even before we send a response, so now when the user is hitting this request, let's say slash, what is going to happen? Even before this function is called, what is happening? You notice a middleware function is getting called here. Okay. So this is the function which is sending response. But even before that function is called, what is happening? This middleware function is getting called here. Okay. See, look at this middleware function is called. So what this middleware function is doing, it is right now stopping the next function to be called. And why it is doing that? So is now, for example, I'll give you an example why this middleware function is needed. Okay, let's see why this middleware function is needed. See, look at this. Someone is making a request. Okay, there is some data. There is some data. This data is confidential, and there is this person A. There is this person A. He is telling that I want the user's data, but this user's data is confidential. Now only admins will have access to this user's data, right? So now not everybody, whoever is requesting this, should get this data, right? So now what this middleware function is going to do, middleware function is going to check whether that person is an admin or not. Okay, so here I'm going to have a field is admin. I'm having a field is admin equal to true. Now the highlight about this middleware function is this next function. Okay, here I'm going to check if this is admin equal to true. If is admin equal to true, only if the person is admin, only then here I'm going to call this next function. Okay. So now only when you call this next function, only then the next callback function will be called. Otherwise, if you don't call this next function, the next callback function will not be called. Now look at this, because this is admin equal to true. In this middleware function, I'm putting this because this is admin equal to true. What I'm doing, I'm calling this next function, and then only then this function will be called. Okay. So now you'll notice that I will be able to access that here. When I press enter, see, I'm able to get hello from Express. Okay. But let's say if is admin equal to false. Okay. If is admin equal to false, here I'm going to check if if the person is an admin, we are calling this next function. and then the next function is getting called. I'm sending the response back. Okay. But if the person is not an admin, this time here we are going to send a response res.json. I'm going to send an error message. I'll send an error message saying only admins can access this. See, now I'm sending a message, only admins can access this. Now when I hit enter, did you see here? Now because this is admin is false, what is happening? This condition is false here. So I'm not going to call the next function. So this particular callback function, which is sending the response, will not be called. What is going to happen? This else part will be called here. And here I'm sending this message back. Only admins can access this. Okay. But if this is admin equal to true, because when this is admin equal to true, now what is going to happen? Now this next function will be called. Only when next function is called, here this callback function is called, which is going to send the response back. Now I'm going to hit this. So now did you see? Now I'm getting hello from Express. Okay. So what this middleware function is, middleware function is a function which is executed right before the response. And then the highlight of middleware function is this next function. Okay. Only when you call this next function, only then the next callback function will be executed and then the response will be sent. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? What is this middleware function? Yes. What about others? Okay, great. So guys, I want response from everyone. I'm only getting response from 3-4 participants. Okay, great. This what is a middleware function? This is asked in the interview a lot of times. Okay, this is asked in the interview a lot of times. What is a middleware function? Okay, now here, now if you look at this, we have created one more request, right? Let's say that I'm going to create one more request here, app.get. Here I'm going to put /users. Now this particular API is not protected. Anyone will be able to access this. Okay. Whether the person is admin or not, he will be able to access here. I'm going to send this response back. Now, if I have /users, see, I'm getting the response back. Okay. Even if the admin is false, even if the admin is false, see what is happening. If I hit this, see, even if the admin is false, I'm able to access this, right? But what do I want? If the admin is false, I should not be able to access the user's data. So what I should do here, I'm going to put a middleware function here also. Here, I should put a middleware function, request response. And then the highlight of middleware function is this next keyword. And the next callback function, which is going to send the response, will only be executed if here inside this I'm going, right? If is admin equal to true, only then the callback function which is going to send the response should be executed. Otherwise, it should send a response back return res.json. Here I'm going to send an error back. Only admins can access this. Okay, I'm going to save this. Now look at this one. Now when is admin is false, we will not be able to access this user's data. See, I'm throwing an error message back. Only admins can access this. Okay. But when is admin is true, now anybody will be able to access that data. Now, if I press enter, see, now anybody is able to access this. Okay. Is this clear to everyone? Everyone understood till here? Okay, great. So guys, now let's say that if you're having 100 APIs, let's say that you're having 100 APIs, you'll not keep putting this middleware for each and every request, right? Here, this middleware function, if 100 APIs are there, you'll not keep putting this middleware function for each and every API. So in this case, what you're going to do, there is something called as global middleware. Okay, so let me just remove this. There is something called as global middleware. So now global middleware is nothing but this will get executed. So global middleware will get executed for each and every request. Okay. So here in this, what I'm going to do, here I'm going to have app.use. Here above this, I'm going to have app.use. So now app.use is a global middleware. So now if the user is requesting for this or this path, this global middleware function will be called. Okay. And here I'm going to pass a function, and then this is going to have request, comma response, comma next. And then here I'm going to put console.log global middleware called. Okay. Now look at this one. So now even when the user is requesting for slash path, did you see the request is hanging here? It is loading and loading. Why? Look at this. Here when I requested for the slash path, this callback function is not called. What happened here? This global middleware function is called. Look at this console. Can you see here global middleware is called? Now, why is this function not called? Why is this function not called? Can you guys tell me why this function is not called here? Exactly. I did not call that next function. Okay. So here I need to call this next function. Here before this, I need to check if is admin equal to true. Only then I want the next callback function to be called. So here I'm going to check is admin equal to true. Only the next should be called. Otherwise, here I'm going to send an error message. Return res.json. Here I'm going to send an error. Only admins can access this. Okay. So I'm going to save this. So now you'll notice that here. So when I request this, now from the global middleware, because is admin is true, here I'm sending this response. Okay. But let's say is admin is false. Now when I'm requesting this, you'll notice that see global middleware is sending this response. Only admins can access this. Okay. So now when I made this request slash path, even before this callback function is called, the global middleware is called, and then here it is sending this error message. Okay. And now when I request for slash users, as I told you, this is a global middleware. So even when you're requesting this, before this callback function is called, what is going to happen? Here, this global middleware will be executed. Okay. In this, the global middleware will get executed. It will check whether the person is admin or not, because the person is not admin here. Here, I'm sending this error message. See, only admins can access this. Okay. So if I make this true, now this global middleware will be accessed for each and every request. It will check whether the person is an admin or not. And then only if the person is an admin, only then it is going to send the response back. Okay. Is this global middleware clear to everyone? This whatever I'm passing inside app.use will be executed for each and every request. Okay. This will get executed for each and every request. So you don't have to write this middleware again and again for each and every request. Okay. You'll just write this for one time and then you're set. Okay. Done. So as now what we are going to do, now we are going to learn how to handle a post request. Okay. Post request means what? As we have discussed, I'm going to repeat this once again quickly. What is a post request? Post request is nothing but the client is making a request to the server. This is a post request. Client is sending some data to the server. Now server gets that data, and now the server has to store that data inside the database. This is called as post request. Post request means client is sending some data. Server has to take that and store that inside the database. This is called as post request. Okay. Now get request means what? What is a get request? Get request means some data is already there in the database. Server should send that data back. That is a get request. Okay. Now let's implement a post request. Now, how do we implement a post request here? This time here, I'm going to have app.post. Here, I'm going to have app.post. And this time, I'm going to have this name as slash register. Okay. And then here, I'm going to have request response. Now, in post request, what exactly happens in post request? What happens in post request? In post request, Yeah, why do we use app.use, Garima? You'll use app.use to create a global middleware. Okay. So whatever you're passing inside app.use, right, that will be executed for each and every request. That is why we use this app.use. Okay. So whatever request we are making, whenever you make any request, this particular callback function will be called. Okay. Right. So now look at this here. Now we are going to handle a post request. Okay. So now in post request, what is going to happen? We are going to get the data from front end. We should first be able to access that data on the back end, right? So now, so guys, can I make a post request from here? From the browser, can I make a post request? No, I cannot make a post request from the browser. Okay. I will not be able to make a post request from the browser. This is where we have something called as Postman. This Postman is a app or a tool which is actually used to test the APIs whatever are built. Okay, whenever APIs are built, right? So all these APIs are actually tested in this Postman. So now, if you want to make a post request, you can't actually do it on the browser. You are going to need this Postman. Okay. So now, what is going to happen here? Let's handle how to handle a post request slash register. Okay. Now, here from front end, let's assume that this is the front end, okay? And I'm making a post request. Now, whatever data which is going to come from Postman to the server, okay? Whatever data I'm sending from Postman, let's assume that this only is our front end. So whatever data is coming from the front end, right now it is going to be in the JSON format. So in the headers, here I need to put content type application JSON. I need to tell what type of data is coming. Okay. So content type is going to be application slash JSON. And once this is done, from the body, here we need to send the response back. So here I'm going to have name as A, and then here I'm going to have email as a@gmail.com. Okay. So now this is the response. This is the data I'm sending from the postman while making this post request. From the front end, we are sending this data and then we are asking the server to store this in the database. Okay. Now, if you observe this, what is going to happen whenever the user is requesting for this slash register, this callback function will be called. So here I put function to send a response for slash register request. Okay, I'll save this. So now when I hit this request, you'll notice that what is happening. Did you see the request is hanging here? Why the request is hanging? Because I did not send any response. And here you'll notice that when the user has requested for slash register, this particular console.log, this code is executed and here it is printed. Function to send response for slash register request. This is called. Now, whatever data is coming from the postman, we should first access that data, right? How do we access that data on the server? What we should do? Now, here we are going to use a middleware called as express.json. So inside this app.use, here there is a middleware called as express.json. What this express.json is going to do, whatever data is coming from the postman, right? Whatever data is coming from the postman, first it is going to parse that data. Right now it is there in JSON format. It will be converting this to JavaScript object. Okay, it is going to parse that data and make that data accessible to us in request.body. Okay, so now before this callback function is called, what is going to happen? This particular middleware function express.json will be called here. This express.json will be called, and then here it is going to parse the data and make that accessible to us in request.body. So let's hit that request. Now when I hit this request, did you see here what is happening? We are able to access that data. Whatever data is coming from the backend, right? Postman, we are able to access that. And but if you see what is happening, the request is hanging. Why the request is hanging here? Because we did not send any response. Okay, because we did not send any response, that is why the request is hanging. Here I'll do request dot send. Here I'll just put testing. Okay, so now you'll notice that because I'm sending a response, now this time the request will not keep hanging. Now when I run this here, sorry, I should not use request dot send. Here I should use response dot send. Response dot send. Okay, here I need to use response dot send. Here now when I run this, here you see here I'm getting testing, and then whatever data was coming from the front end, whatever data was coming from the front end, here I'm able to access that. Okay, so now what did we do? We have learned how to access the data, whatever is coming from the front end. I'm able to access that data. Now we are going to learn how to store that data in the database. Okay, how to exclude routes. Okay, Ravi, you only want that middleware function for a particular route. Is that what you're asking? Then you can put it something like this. For example, if you only want for user routes, you can put slash users here in that scenario. Okay, that is what you can do. Right. So now we are able to access the data, whatever is coming from front end. Now what we should do? We want to store this in the database. Okay, now let's see how do we store that into database. So now there is something called as model view controller. Okay, there is something called as model view controller. Now with the help of this model folder, inside the model folder we are going to create models. Okay, now these models will help us to decide in which collection the data should be stored. Okay, and then what type of fields should be there. All this will be decided inside that models folder only. Okay, so now if you want to store the data, here we need to create a models folder. Okay, so let's create a models folder here. Inside this, here I'm going to create a model folder. I'm going to press enter. And now what I'm going to do, inside this, I'm going to create a user model. Here I'm going to do user.js. And now here we are going to build a model. Okay. So before this, let's connect, before we build a model, what we are going to do, let's connect to the database. And to connect to database, we are going to use Mongoose package, which I've already installed here. Okay, and then here what we should do, here I'm going to do, let's mongoose equal to require mongoose. Okay, here I'm getting this package mongoose here, and then here I'm going to do mongoose dot connect. Here I need to do mongoose dot connect. Now here we actually need a link which will help us to connect to the database. Okay, MongoDB database. For that, here I'm going to open my terminal. I've already installed MongoDB. To get that link which will help you to connect to database, here we need to run this mongo sh. As soon as I did this, here it is going to give me a link. Using that link, I will be able to see what all databases are there. Here I'll copy this link, and then here I'll go to my MongoDB Atlas. If I let me just close this and show it again. I'm going to open this again. I've copied that link, right? If I paste that link in my MongoDB Atlas, I will be able to see all the databases here. Now, I've copied that. As soon as I paste it here, let me paste that link in my mongoose.connect also. So now, if I run this, what it is going to do, if I put this inside console.log, right now you'll notice that it is going to return me a promise. See, it is returning me a promise and currently in the pending state. Okay. Now, if the promise is fulfilled, I'm going to handle that using dot then. Here, this particular dot then, this function will be executed if this promise is resolved. Okay. In this, here I'm going to have console.log db connected. Okay. And then if there is any error, here I'm going to pass this error message saying console.log error. Okay. So now if we are successfully connected to the database, here DB connected will get printed. Did you see DB is connected? Okay. And let me show you Mongo Atlas. If I put this link here, you'll notice that all the databases, test database, school database, and inside the database, what all collections are there, we are able to see each and everything. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to store the user's data inside this users collection only. Okay. So let's learn how to make a post request. Now what I'm going to do, here I've connected to the database, and then inside the models, I'm creating a user model. So let's create a user model. So for that, I need to do, let mongoose is equal to require mongoose. Okay, here I'm going to create a user schema equal to new mongoose schema. Okay, and then here I'm going to do name. I want to have a name field, so that's why I'm putting name here. I'll put type is equal to string, and I want this field uh, required, so I'm going to make it required. I'll put true, so which means that I should definitely send this back. So name field is compulsory, and then here I'm going to have next email type string required true, and then I also want to have password, required true, and then I also want to have phone number. Here I'm going to put phone number. This also is string required is true. Okay. Now once you have done here, to create a model, you need to do mongoose.model. Inside this, in which collection you want the data to be stored. Okay. In this database, we are having all these collections, right? Inside which collections you want the data to be stored. I want the data to be stored in this users collection. So here, what I'm going to do, here I'm going to mention user. And then here I've created this schema, right? In this schema, I'm defining what all fields I want to have, what all fields I don't want to have. I'm going to copy this user schema and then paste that user schema here. Okay. And then simply export this. Module.exports is equal to, I'm simply exporting this. Okay. I've created this model. Now using this model, we will be able to store it inside that users collection. Okay. Once I've built this model, so now in MVC architecture, M stands for model. Okay. Model is where we build all our models, we create schemas. This is where we decide in which particular collection the data should be stored, what all fields we should have, all that. Okay. And then M means model, and then V means, any idea what is V and C? Can you guys tell me what is V and C here? Exactly. V means views. That's correct. V means views here. And C means controller. Okay, you guys are correct. So now we have seen what is model used for. Now let's see what is views and controller. Now, if you observe here, each and every API we are handling here only. In index.js only, we are handling each and every request, right? So which is obviously not correct, because let's say if you're handling 200 or 300 requests, we cannot handle everything in this index.js, right? We cannot handle everything here. So now what we should do, in this case, what you should do here, now I'm not going to handle this request in my index.js. Here I'm going to create a views folder. Inside this, I'll be creating a views folder. Inside this views, I'm going to have user.js. User.js. Now, in this, now I'm going to handle my request here. I'm going to build my APIs here. I'm going to handle those requests here inside my views folder. inside this user.js. Okay. So now let's implement this. How do we handle this here? So here I need to let express. I'm going to import express here, and then here I'll do let router is equal to. Now this express has a method called as router. Okay, this express has a method called as router. Now we will not be handling the request using app.get or app.post. Now we will be handling using this router in the separate folder. Here I'll do router.get slash users, and then whenever the user is making a request, what is going to happen? This particular function will be called. Okay, and then here we are going to return a response res.json. Here I want to return the user's data back. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to send the user's data back here. Let users equal to, I'll paste this. I'm putting the user's data here. And now what we should do, if I save this, so now let me make this user's request. Here I'm going to do slash users. So obviously in this case here, I'll save this file. See, so when I save this, when I hit this user's request, it is getting error because first JavaScript code, this index.js will be executed, and then the code is executed from top to bottom. And if you observe here, we don't have slash users anywhere. We don't have slash users handled anywhere, right? It is actually handled in a separate folder, separate file. And then here, this Node.js is not actually aware of that, right? That slash users is handled in a separate file. So in this case, what you should do, you should be exporting this router. Using this router only you handle this, right? So what you should do, here you need to do module.exports. Here you need to export this router, and then here you need to import the user routes. Let user routes is equal to require. So now we should get this from views. Inside this user, I'm going to get them from here. Why I'm getting error? At the views, having user .js. Let's see what error it is throwing. Okay, so let's actually hit this request and see why we are getting this. So once you have imported this user's route, what you should do, here you should simply be putting inside this app.use. So now I'm going to run this. So let's check. Did you see we are sending the user's response back? Okay. So which was actually created inside a separate folder. So now you can neatly create all the APIs in a separate folder, and then we will be able to handle the request. Okay. Now let's learn how to handle a post request. Here I'll do router.post. So make sure that you're putting this express.json before this user route. Okay. Make sure that you put this middleware, which is going to handle the data. We will put it before this. Can we use SQL Server? Yes, we can use SQL Server also. Okay. You can use SQL Server also, but now we are using MongoDB. Now here I'm going to handle this register. And then whenever the user is requesting, we want this particular function to be called. And then whatever data is coming, I'm going to handle that using request.body. And then here I'm going to send a message testing. So now I'll run this. So now when I hit this request, you'll notice that here I'm getting testing. Okay. Now what do I want? Here when I did request.body, see whatever I'm sending, Everything is getting stored here. Now, if you want to see what all fields are required, you can simply go to models. Here you are able to see name is required, email, phone number, password and phone number is required, right? Let's also send password. I'll put password as 12345. And then here I'm also going to set send phone number. Phone number. Okay, I'm sending the phone number. So now when I hit this request, it is sending testing. But now, did you notice here I'm getting all the fields? Okay. Now I simply need to store this in my database. Okay. I'm getting everything. I'm getting all the fields. Now what I should do? I should simply store all this data in my database. How do we do that? If you observe, we have created a schema. In model, we have created this schema, right? We have created this user schema. Here we simply need to import that schema in our views. Here I should simply import this user schema from views folder. Here I double click first, go out of this, go inside models, user. So here I'm getting this user schema. And then what I should do, whenever the user is making the slash register, I want this function to be called. And then here inside this user schema, I'm going to pass this request.body. And once this is done, here I need to put a new keyword. And then here it is going to return me an object user. And now all you need to do here is, because this is an asynchronous operation, it is going to return me a promise. I'm going to put async here and I'll put await. Here I'll do user.save. Okay. Here I'm going to save this. As soon as I did this, whatever user details which are being passed, all this will be stored in my database. Okay. So right now in my database, you'll see that right now in my database here, I'm having this a something. I'm going to delete this. Here I'm deleting this. Right now this collection is empty. Now when I hit this request, I'm putting this inside requested request.body and I'm saving this. This is going to return me the user details. And then here I'll put data. Okay. And then here I'm going to send a response res.json. Okay. And then here I'm going to send a success message. User stored in DB. And then here I'm going to send this user's data back. So now when I run this, you'll notice that here when I hit this request, here it's saying name is required. Okay. See, what did I do here? In my model, here I've given this name field, right? Here it is telling name is required. See, look at this error. It is telling user validation name is required. But here, if you look at this, I'm passing name, right? But in my models, I put this lowercase. Okay. That is why I'm getting this error. Here, I'm going to put name. Now, when I hit this request, did you see here? When I hit this request from the backend, I'm getting this message. User stored in the database, and this is the user details. Now, if I go to my database, right now it is empty. But when I refresh this, did you notice here what happened? All the user details have been stored. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put user b@gmail.com. Let me change this a little bit. And now when I hit request, now did you see again from the backend, I'm getting this message user stored in the database. And here, if I refresh, you'll notice that b user has been stored in the database. Okay. This is how we are going to handle a post request. Okay. Was this clear to everyone? How do we handle post request? Any questions, any doubts in this? Yes, what about others?
Anudeep, actually, we have so many questions.
Yeah, sure. I'll take those questions.
Uh, now or after some time?
Now I'll take the questions now.
Okay, so can I like read it for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay. So, first question is, what is the use of node module?
Okay, the question, why do we need this node module is whenever we install any package, right? For example, I've installed this. Here I've installed Express.js, Mongoose, NodeMon, all the code related to this package. So package is nothing but developers have already written this code. Okay, we are just using that code. Okay, whatever code has been written, whatever code is there of that particular package, all that code is there inside this node modules. Okay, that only is a node module folder, and it is automatically created as soon as you try to install any package. So that is your node modules.
Okay, actually, we have one session feedback form which I'm launching from my end. I would like to request everyone to fill it. Uh, Side by side, we can take questions. Okay, another question is how to exclude routes from global middleware.
How do So, if you, I'll answer the question like this: how to include a particular route? Okay, if you include a particular route, then others will automatically be excluded, right? So, if you want only for slash users, which I've already answered in this app.use here, if you only want for let's say user slash user, you can include this. So other routes will be excluded. So this user routes will be checked only for slash users path, not for others. Yeah, this was the answer to second question.
Oh, okay. Another question, Mr. Sunil is asking, we had global middleware. Will Post not use that?
Post request is also going to use that. Okay, this app.use, this global middleware is used for each and every request, not just get request. It is used for each and every request. So post request is also going to be used.
Okay, okay.
Also going to use this. Yeah.
Okay, another question. Sir, how to handle unwanted request from the front end if we access cars? There is no API route that how to handle this.
Yeah. So here in this case, you can put a star in app.use. You can put a star. So that is how you're going to handle this. Okay. Before this, you can have a global middleware. You can have a global middleware there. So let me, before this, put a star here, and then star means if it did not match with any of the previous request, then in this case it is going to match with star, and then you can send a response that we did not handle this. Any
Okay.
other questions?
Yes, yes. Another question. Sunil is asking, then why there is no check for is admin while executing the post?
So there is a check. There is a check, but here, look at this. I did not get any error because is admin is true here. Okay. So now if I make this false and now I'll save this. Here, let me remove this one. Now if I hit this, see, look at this. Here there is a check for post also. I did not get error message because is admin was already true. Okay, that is why we did not get any error message there.
Okay. Okay. Another question. How much prior knowledge, how much prior Node.js knowledge do we require to learn REST APIs?
So you just need basic file. You just need to know JavaScript first, I'll say. Okay, and then if you know JavaScript, you understand what is Node.js. If you know how to run code on Node.js, you are good to learn REST API. I'll actually explain you after this Q&A what is a REST API. I'm going to explain.
Okay. Okay. Another question. When we use app.send versus app.json, string and JSON.
Uh, I did not get the question. Okay,
When we
okay,
use
okay. So when we use app.send versus app.json, see, so now whenever I'm sending a JSON response like this, okay, whenever I'm sending a plain message, like whenever I was sending a plain message like this, like here I'm going to return res.send. I'm sending hello from Express. This is not any object, right? This is just a plain string I'm sending. In this case, you don't put res.send, res.json. You can simply put res.send. But if you're sending any JSON data, like you're sending this user's data, in this case, you're going to put res.json.
Okay, another question. Can we manage multiple roles like customer admin in single?
Yes, you can do that. You can definitely do that.
Okay. Why we need middleware?
Why we need middleware? As I've already discussed, middleware is something which is executed before the response. Okay, before the response, this middleware is executed. Okay, and what happens is, for example, if you want to protect a route, let's say that these routes are only to be accessed by admin. Okay, then in this case, middleware function is going to help you to restrict other roles to be to access that particular route. Okay, so if you want to protect an API, in that case you'll use middleware. That is one of the example. And one more example why you use middleware here is, for example, I've used express.json. That middleware helps us in parsing the data coming from front end, and it is going to make that accessible to us in request.body. This is why we'll use global middleware.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Can you explain how database connection created? We can use Mangoose or any other way.
You can use mongoose. Okay, you can use mongoose. If I have to tell you, just give me a minute, let me share my screen. Yeah, I've just shown how to create a connection to mongodb. Here I'm going to open this. Look at this here. I've used mongoose.connect. Inside this, you just need to put this mongodb link, and you will be able to connect to your database. Okay, you can have an atlas link there, which is going to help you to connect to your cloud database. And then this mongoose.connect is going to return your promise. Then you handle that using dot then and dot catch. You can also use MongoDB package as well. You can, if instead of this, you can simply go for MongoDB package as well. Connect your MongoDB database.
Okay. Another question. Difference between put and patch.
Okay. Here, the difference between put and patches, I just explained you guys what is a put request, right? What is a put request? Can you guys put in the chat? We have discussed put request, right? Put is to replace an entire resource. Okay, put is there to replace an entire resource. It will actually replace that entire document. Okay, so now the resource you're updating will be replaced with the data you provide, even if some of the original fields are not included. For example, in this email, if you only want to update one particular thing, each and everything will get updated, even if you don't want the other thing to be updated. For example, although you want to make this A as B, this name will be made as B, but all the other fields will again be replaced. Okay. But when it comes to patch, what patch is do? Patch is used to partially update a resource. Okay. For example, if you only want to update this one, only this will be updated. Remaining will be untouched. Input, what will happen? This will be updated. These other fields also will be updated with the same values. That is the difference between put and patch.
Okay. Thank you. Another question. If we have large scale app and if I have handled 1,000 requests for one function, how can we make it more requests coming? How can we handle in other function? How can we make it?
Have to read that question once again. Okay. So if I handle 100 requests for one function, I did not get your question. How to handle 100 requests with one function mean?
Yes.
Obviously, you'll have different functions for different requests, right? So if you're getting 1,000 requests, Node.js is non-blocking asynchronous. Okay, so it will very easily be able to handle many huge amount of requests. Okay, it is not going to be blocked at one request. It is actually going to move ahead and handle other requests. Okay, so obviously you'll have different functions for different requests. You'll not have one function for many requests. That does not happen.
Okay. Uh, Dheeraj is asking, can we use put and patch instead of get?
No. Get is for different purpose. Put and patch is for different purpose. Okay. If you only want to get the data, you don't use put request.
Okay. Venkatesh is asking how to create and maintain bearer token.
Yeah, so bearer token is nothing but what he is asking. So there is something called as JWT. Let me explain this using whiteboard. So as this is something which is asked in the interviews a lot. Very important concept, pay attention. Okay, so here I'm going to create a diagram to answer this question. Please explain types of authorization. I'm going to explain one type of authorization, Garima, using JWT token. See, so here how to create a bearer token, but before that I'll explain you what is that bearer token. So here let's assume that this is a client. Okay, let's assume that this is client or nothing but front end, and then this is your backend. Okay, this is your backend, or let's say server. Now when you have logged in here, let's say the person is A and a@gmail.com. This is the mail ID, and the person has logged in, and then the server has sent login success. Server has sent a message login success. Okay. Now the client is again requesting slash posts. This client want to see his post request, but the server, for this particular request, what are the requirements? First, the server will know, okay, you want post for which person, right? So for example, my Instagram feed is different. My Instagram is feed is dependent upon my name, my profile, right? So now if the server want to send response for this last post, first it should know whether the person is logged in or not. Is the person logged in? What is the name of the person? Only when the server knows all these details, only then it can send the post related to that person, right? So now what is this token? Token is the proof that the person has logged in and is the correct user for that type of request. Okay. So now when the user is requesting, the user is trying to log in, he has sent his credentials. Once the server feels that all the details are correct, the server is going to send a success response. Along with this, what the server is going to do, server is going to send a token. Okay, server is going to send a token to the client. Now client will get a token, and then inside this token, all the details related to that customer, like customer name, is there, everything will get stored inside the token. Now when the client is requesting for slash post, now when he has received this client, he has received this token, right? Now he is sending this token along with this request. Now when the server is looking at the token, if the token is valid, then it is a proof that okay, this user has previously logged in And in this token, all the details related to the customer will be there. Related to the client will be there. Okay. So now once the server gets this token, server knows that okay, the user is really logged in and the name of the user is A. Now what the server is going to do? Server is going to send all the posts related to this A. Okay. And then if you want to create a token, you will need this package JWT. You'll need this JSON web token. So here it is. You can simply go search for npm install JSON web token. Here is the code. You'll need jwt.sign. You'll need this code jwt.sign. Okay, and then put the user details, put the secret key, and then send the token back. It is this simple to create a token. I would have actually shown you, but we don't have enough time to create a token. Okay.
Another question, Irfan is asking, what is page number in URL?
What is page number?
In
Okay.
URL, and he have written it twice, like in URL and in request also.
Okay, maybe you are asking about a particular detail. Okay, so page number is nothing but if you want only to get the details of the user. So along with this URL, you will be getting the user details. Okay, you will be getting the user details. Maybe that only you are asking.
Oh, yeah.
Please explain the type of Postman. One authorization is JSON Web Token, which I've just explained, Garima. Yeah,
Okay, can we move to another question?
sure.
Yeah, okay. What is the difference between post and put request?
So post and put request. So post, what post will do? Post request is nothing but here in this post request is nothing but client is sending some data and asking server to store this data in the database. That is called as put request. Okay. Sorry, that is called as post request. Post request means client is sending some data to the server, asking the server to store that data in the database. That is called as post request. Put request means some data is already there in the database. Like here A, like your name is there. Some data is already there in the database, like name is A, and then email is there, a@gmail.com. Some data is already there in the database. Now we all want to update our profile picture. We want to update our passwords, right? So now this time, this client is making a request, put request. He wants to change his email ID from a@gmail.com to b@gmail.com. Or let's say a1@gmail.com. Okay, he wants to update. Now what is going to happen? This server is going to take this new email ID and then server is going to update that email ID in the database. This will become a1@gmail.com. That is what is put request. Put request means already the data is there. We are just updating this data. And post request means we are storing new data into the database. That is the difference between put and post.
Okay, another question. Can we use the page navigation using with Node.js?
Yes, you can do. You
Okay.
can do that. Yeah.
How can we make a
How can we?
pagination in function?
Okay. So there is MongoDB aggregations. Let me show you. If you want to if you want to implement pagination here, here you are having sort and limit. Okay. There is something called as sort and limit. Using this sort and limit, you will be able to implement pagination. So limit is there, and then sort is going to put this in ascending order. Limit is there. Limit is going to help you to limit a particular user, and then skip is there. Okay, skip and limit. You will implement the pagination using skip and limit. Skip and limit like this. For example, you only want the records from 11 to 20. So what will you do? You will tell skip first 10 records and then limit 10 means after skipping first 10, you'll only get 10 records after that. Okay. So whatever is there after 20, you'll not get. Whatever is there from 1 to 10, you'll not get. You only get the records whatever you want. This is called as pagination. And then you can implement that using skip and limit. That is how you can implement pagination.
Okay, another question. Why we are using app.use?
App.use, as I've already discussed, we are using this app.use because we want to have a global middleware. Okay. So we can't keep putting a middleware for each and every request, right? So we'll create only one middleware, put it inside app.use. It is going to be executed for each and every request. That is why to have a global middleware, we use app.use.
Okay. The syntax will be different for get, post, and delete patch API.
Yes, syntax will be different.
Okay. Another question. What is different between package log JSON, node module, and package.json?
Okay. So in this package.json, whatever dependencies we are installing, whatever is the project name, more details about the project, start script, all of this will be listed down inside this package.json. Okay. And then inside the node modules, the code related to this packages. Okay. The code related to this packages will be stored, will be there inside this node module. And in this package log.json, so more details, okay, more details related to that particular package will be there inside this package log.json. You'll get the exact version, you'll get the integrity of that package, and then you'll get all the resolved details about that package. More details about a particular package will be there inside that package log.json.
Okay. Another question. What is iExpress?
Yes, I did not get the question. What is
He has written what is iExpress?
uh I'm not able to see that question.
Okay, till then, like, we can move to another question. Is admin is equal to true? Is there, but how is can be handled for different authorization without if else?
uh without if else, if you want to handle, for example, let's say that here you can create a flag. I'll show you one more. First of all, if you want to handle, I've just explained JSON web token is there. Okay. In JSON web token, what are the other ways is you can store the details like is admin true or false. You can put it inside this, and then you can get the details in this. Is admin true and false is there. What are the other authorization means? Is the person logged in or not? Okay. Is admin or not? These are two types of authorization is there. This is one more example. You can check whether the person is admin or not. Okay. And then what else you can do? What are the other types? For example, if the person want to retrieve the money, withdraw money, okay, or if the person wants to update this, for example, person A is there, but this person wants to update the profile pic of B. So this is one more type of authorization. He is trying to update the profile pic of B, but this is incorrect, right? This is another type of authorization we are having. These are few more examples of what are the different types of authorization.
Okay. What is the use of node
What is the use of node 1? At start only we have discussed. We don't have to kill the terminal each and every time and restart whenever you make any change. Once you install nodemon, you will be uh, able to just restart the code by just saving the file. Can you show? No, actually that is going to take some time, Priyanshu, showing you how to store image. So I can't show that now. That I just need at least 1 more hour to show that, explain you guys each and everything from scratch.
Okay, Garima is asking, please explain type of authorization in Postman.
So I'll show you how does authorization happen. So as I've discussed here, authorization and authentication. First, let me tell you the difference between authorization and authentication. So now authentication means what? Authentication means you check email is existing in the database. In the login, you'll put email and password, right? You'll check whether there is an email existing with this email ID and whether the password is correct or not. This is called as authentication. And authorization means, what exactly is authorization? Is this person authorized to access this? For example, there is this data stored in the database. Okay, there is this JSON data. This person A is there and person B is there. Person B is an admin and person A is non-admin. Okay, he is just a customer. Authorization means if this person is trying to access this sensitive data, is this person authorized to access this? This is called as authorization. Okay. So now different types of authorization is check if the person is logged in. This is one basic thing. Is admin is there? Is this person authorized to update these details? Is this person authorized to delete this particular data? These are the different types of authorization we have, depend upon the requirement. Okay, depends upon the requirement, but these are the basic type of authorizations we are having. And then you can do authorization. One of the way is using this JSON web token, and cookie is there. Cookies is there. Let me explain you what is REST API and what is cookies. Okay, one very important thing. What is a REST API? Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that only. Priyanshu, what is a cookie? Just give me one minute. Okay, so guys, let's see what is this cookie. Why do we need this cookie, right? So now there is this person who is putting his email ID and password. When he is trying to log in, now this particular person is there. He is asking, give my orders. But the server is asking, who are you? I don't know you. First, I should know who you are. Only then I can send your order details, right? Look at the server is telling, I would ask for your credentials. Now, cookies is the hero here. Cookie will help the server remember who you were. Okay. Now, there is this person John. There is this person John. John is signing in for the first time. Okay. So now when this person John is signing in, the server is going to send a cookie. Server is going to send a cookie. Okay, server, when the user has logged in, server has sent the cookie. Now, in this cookie, the server is telling session ID is equal to this number. So now server will remember that this session ID and this cookie means this is the cookie of the person John. Server is actually going to store this information in the backend. Okay. And now what did the server do? Server is sending this cookie back to the client front end. Now, when this person John is requesting for this orders, along with this request, this person is sending this cookie to the server. Okay. Now this server has seen this cookie. Now the server is telling that, okay, I remember you. This cookie is related to John. So server has stored this information in the backend that this particular cookie is of John. Okay. Now when the server has seen this cookie, server remembers that this is of the John and sends all the orders related to John. Okay. This is what is cookie. Cookie will help a server remember which particular person logged in. Okay. Now in this, what is happening? Cookies are typically used to maintain stateful information. Okay. What is stateful and what is stateless? So guys, now let's stateful means server is storing some information on the backend. Okay. Stateful information means what? So now whenever there is a request coming, whenever there is a request coming from front end, what happens? Based on that request, server has stored some detail. For example, this cookie is related to John. Server has stored this information on the backend, right? So, based on the request, server is storing some detail. This is called as stateful. This is called as stateful here. Stateful means server is storing some details about the user based on the previous request. Based on the login request, the server has stored in the database that this cookie means this is related to John. This is called as stateful. Now, what is a REST API? REST means full form of REST means representational state transfer. Okay. In this, what happens? This means that the data exchanged. So whatever data is being exchanged, that should be understood by both front end as well as back end. Suppose if you're sending the data in JSON format or any format, that should be understood by both front end as well as back end. Okay, that is what representational means. And state transfer means that in each request from a client to server, it should contain all the information necessary to understand that request. For example, if the client is asking, get me the details of a particular user, in that request, he should mention the user ID. Which particular user's information do you want? The client should send all the details required to fulfill that request. Okay. And also, the server should not need to rely on any previous request or stored session state to process the request. Okay. So in this case, the server is not going to store any details from the previous request. Okay. So now this time, now let's say a particular user is requesting for slash orders. So now server should not store in the database that, okay, previously session ID, session ID or cookie is related to John. This time the server should not store details about that particular person. So now in this case, stateless means, what is stateless in REST APIs? REST means representational state transfer, right? In this case, representational means front end and back end should understand the data, and also state transfer. In the state transfer means the server should not store any details from the previous request. Okay. Each request should be considered as an isolate request, and server should not store any details from the previous request. This is called as stateless. Okay. This only is called as stateless here. So REST APIs, in REST APIs, what happens? The server will not store any details from the previous request. Okay. Each request is considered as an isolate request, and then accordingly that request is fulfilled. But the server will not rely on previous request to remember that, okay, previously this customer has made this login request and this customer is ABC. No, this request should be handled individually. Okay. And it should not rely on any previous request to answer or send the response for this particular request. Okay. This is what stateless means. Stateless means the server will not remember anything from the previous request. Each request is treated in isolation. That is what stateless means. Okay. Cookies are similar to JWT. Yes, they are similar, but they are not same. Okay. Cookies in JWT, what happens in JWT? This server does not have JWT. Server does not have JWT. Okay. And also it is very much protected compared to cookies. Okay. That is the difference between cookies and JWT. Okay. I cannot share the document now with you guys. Okay. What is the difference between local and session storage? So session storage is something uh, where the data is stored on the browser. In session storage, the data is stored on a temporary basis. And then when it comes to local storage, the data is stored on a permanent basis. The data is stored on a permanent basis, okay, until and unless you delete it. Okay. That is the difference between local and session storage. Any other questions you guys have?
I think we are done with the questions.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Guys,
Okay.
any last question? And you can put. Otherwise, that's it from my side.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, before ending the session, is there any piece of advice you would like to give to our audience?
The advice I'll give is if you want to become a full stack developer, JavaScript, you have to go in depth, learn JavaScript very well. Okay. Because if you are going for a front end developer interview or back end, first they'll focus a lot on JavaScript only. Once you're good with basics, then they'll get a good impression on you. And then even if you mess up a little bit in the front end developer or back end developer interview, they'll think that okay, he is really good with basics, so they can trust you. That is what I'll say. If you mess with basics, they'll not even be interested to ask you deep questions. And then practice a lot, build more projects. That is the best thing to learn. Build more projects.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Anudeep,
you, guys.
for delivering such an engaging session. We truly appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge with us. And a big thank you to everyone who have joined us today. We hope you
Thank
found
you.
the session useful and informative. If you would like to revisit the session or share it with others, the recordings are also available on our LinkedIn page and YouTube channel. So until then, take care,
Yeah.
stay curious, and keep
Thank
learning.
it
Thank
was
you once again.
thank you, guys. It was great talking to you all. So if you guys want to stay connected, I'm just sending my LinkedIn profile. I think some of you have asked me. I'll share my LinkedIn profile. You guys can add me there.
Sure.
Yeah, here is my LinkedIn profile. You guys can add me there. It was great interacting with you all. Maybe I'll see you guys soon in some other workshop.
Thank you so much. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.